Good morning and welcome to Birmingham Unitarian Church. I am the Reverend Mandy Beal. I'm this congregation's senior minister. I'm joined in worship leadership this morning by worship associate Brianna Zamborski. Our music leader today is Eric Sargent. Our cantor is Brian Shandoval. We have tech support this morning from our communications coordinator, Sarah Constantagus, and our Zoom greeter today is Mary Jo Ebert. Our worship services are hosted on Zoom every Sunday morning at 10:30 and then later posted on our website and our Facebook page. After the service, we hope that you'll stick around for a virtual coffee hour, especially if you are worshiping with us for the first time today. We'd like the chance to get to know you. We have one announcement this morning, and that is about our Vesper service, which is tomorrow. I invite you to join me on August 9th at 6 p.m. on Facebook Live. This service includes a lighting of candles for our beloved dead, as well as candles of concern and a candle of hope and joy. Names and information for candle lighting can be submitted through a link on our website. And again, that service is live on the Birmingham Unitarian Church Facebook page at 6 p.m. tomorrow evening. And the video will remain on Facebook for later viewing. That's all of our announcements for today. Now let us join together in worship. As we worship in our separate homes this morning, we are joined by a multitude of Unitarian Universalists in lighting our chalice. We light this chalice as a symbol of our free religious tradition. We light it as a reminder of the warmth, the love, and the shelter that we share within our beloved community.
Good morning. Please, our opening hymn is hymn number 108 in Singing the Living Tradition. Please join me in the spirit of singing My Life Flows On in Endless Song, verses 1 and 2. My life flows on in endless song, above earth's lamentation. I hear the real, though far off hymn that hails a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What though the tempest round me roars? I know the truth, it liveth. What though the darkness round me close? Songs in the night it giveth. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to that rock I'm clinging. Since love prevails in heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing?
Good morning. Our opening words today come from UU Minister Katie Kandrian Morris. Here we have come into this sacred space, quieter now with our readiness. Hushed voices, hoping, trusting for so many things. For connection, for communion, for inspiration, for information, for healing and wholeness, for words, for music, for celebration and consolation. Here we have come into this space, bringing all of who we are. Let us be willing, however we are changed.
The mission of Birmingham Unitarian Church is to create a free and welcoming religious community that encourages lives of integrity, learning, service, and joy. One of the ways that we live out the service part of our mission is to share our weekly offering with a nonprofit organization that shares our values. 50% of this week's offering will be shared with Voters Not Politicians. Voters Not Politicians is a nonpartisan nonprofit organization that protects the democratic process and educate voters. So let there be an offering in support of this beloved community and the good works of our partners in our shared values. Contributions can be made through our website, through Venmo with username @BUCMI, or a check in the mail. However you choose to give, please do so with a heart of gratitude for each other. We've come to the time in our service that we set aside for a spiritual practice. We begin with a sharing of joys and sorrows from our congregation, and we stop sharing the video at this point. We stop our recording. We are here this morning in the presence of each other, in the presence of the mystery of life, to seek, to ask questions. May we always be compelled to move forward and never satisfied to stay where we are. May we find the shelter of each other, even during a time where we are not together physically. May we hold each other in comfort when during times of sorrow. May we celebrate together during times of joy. Throughout all the vagaries of life, may we find love here in each other's company. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirs of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
We went camping with friends a couple weekends ago by Lake Michigan. We actually saw the Sargents there. That was fun. The kids loved playing in the big waves of the big lake. I love a great lake, don't get me wrong, but what I was the most excited about was that behind our campsite, there was a little creek running. When I am trying to take control of something, or anxious or stressed out, I often think of a particular creek in a hilly part of the UP. The water just goes down. It doesn't worry about rocks up ahead or a big fall, just weaves by or lets go. You never hear a creek be like, I'm really worried about that bend up there, or that rock looks really hard. It just takes each obstacle, each change as it comes. The two creeks in this story don't even know that they're both on their way to becoming something completely different. Still water, but soon lake. And before that, they were snow. They're constantly changing, kind of like us. If they knew, would freaking out along the way help them? No. Back to the campsite. So this campsite had a pretty good quiet hours, except we were next to this really loud, rather obnoxious guy. The first night I couldn't fall asleep because of him. So the next night I decided at bedtime to put some white noise on my phone to drown him out. I found a relaxing playlist called Sounds of the Forest. Turns out it was just the sound of a babbling brook. Do you see where I'm going with this? I fell asleep to the sound of a babbling brook from my phone while actually sleeping next to a real babbling brook. Life is ridiculous. But if we can go with the flow along the way, it's going to be a whole lot easier to deal with that fact.
So I don't know if anybody's picked up on this, but I've been thinking a lot about the pandemic. I've been thinking a lot about how to make sense of everything that is related to all of this. And every time that I think I've made peace between what I want to happen and what is happening, something else happens, and then I'm back to square one, which is why you keep hearing about it so much, because I'm like, I got the thing, and then everything changes. So I'm coming to the conclusion that one cannot make sense of things that inherently do not make sense. So right now, I think while we are in the middle of all of this, I think it's possible for us to comprehend a piece of the puzzle. And I hope that time and perspective will give us a larger picture of why we are where we are, thinking that we were so close, and then here we are again. But right now, while it's happening, we're back in the cases going up and all the masks and the closing down and reconsidering things again. It is truly impossible to understand what is going on and why. Think of all of the things that we're doing, that we've been doing, trying to keep up with rapidly changing guidance from experts, dealing with increasingly bizarre, unhinged, emotionally charged conspiracy theories, coping with months and months of fear and paranoia, processing through collective trauma, trying not to get sick, being sick, taking care of people who are sick. We can't. We can't make sense of this. Even if it did make sense, which it does not make sense, but even if it did, we still could not make sense of it because it is impossible to do all of that emotional labor and still have the cognitive ability to make it make sense. We are emotionally and existentially exhausted, partly by trying to make sense of it. We are exhausted by trying to make sense of it, and we cannot make sense of it because we are exhausted. And when things can't make sense, we are left with only one logical, incredibly difficult to do option, and that is to stop. Just quit. It's time to give up. Abandon hope, ye who enter here. We live in times that do not make sense, so let's stop trying to make sense of it. We cannot make the impossible possible, so I'm giving myself permission to give up on trying to make sense of this, and I hope that I can give you permission to do the same, if you haven't already. We have to let it go. There's a quote that I've come back to several times over the course of this pandemic that I cannot get into my head, but I'd like to share with you. It is from martial arts master Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee said, "Be water, my friend. Empty your mind, be formless, shapeless like water. You put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now, water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend." Water might be a little trite, but it is the perfect metaphor for our lives right now. If there ever was a time that we have to let go of our illusion of control and just go with the flow, this is it. Water moves along the path of least resistance, and it is compelled by forces not its own. The gravity of the earth and the moon direct the course of water, hold it down, pull it up. Wave after wave, season after season, it is taken to the ocean, becomes a lake, goes to the sky, becomes the ocean again. Water has no agency, no ability to direct its course. Water is at the mercy of forces outside of itself. And yet, at the same time, water is by no means passive. Water shapes the path by which it flows. It does so at a rate that is imperceptible but undeniable. Water may not have the ability to choose its course, but it is persistent in shaping that course over time. The same gravity that forces the water along its pathways is used to shape those very pathways. Water is powerful precisely because of the forces that are imposed upon it. And perhaps the most dramatic example of this process is the Grand Canyon. Over the course of an estimated 5 to 6 million years, the Colorado River shaped the course of its banks until it formed the largest canyon on Earth. And that vast and remarkable landscape was wrought over the ages through the work of gravity and persistence, both embodied by water. And that is what we're after in this time. Making sense is a fool's errand. So being water is really all we can hope for, to create something beautiful and rough-hewn that future generations will look upon with awe. We can't truly comprehend what's happening in this crisis moment, but we don't have to. Water does not understand gravity. It doesn't get to decide where it flows, but it still flows. Freaking out does not help it. And as it does, it takes a little bit of the landscape with it, shaping it as it goes. And eventually, that landscape has the potential to become the Grand Canyon. And there are times, like Brianna said, when we have to go with the flow. We have to. But I want to be very careful about what that means. To go with the flow is not to be complacent. It is to be flexible. It is to harness the powers that are beyond our control and to use them to shape the world around us, to be a dynamic force. Water has the dual qualities of flowing and shaping. It is driven by gravity outside of itself, but it is relentless. We have to stop tormenting ourselves with the impossible task of making sense of a senseless world. We are weighed down by gravity that we cannot control. We are powerless to forces beyond our grasp that move us along, whether or not we are comfortable with being moved along. We are swirling, rising, falling, being transformed into other states of matter sometime. And it is our task to let go. Stop trying to resist gravity. You can't. Let gravity have its pull, but use that same energy, that power that pulls you to create change. The Grand Canyon took 5 to 6 million years. That massive, awe-inspiring, beautiful, terrifying landscape was not the work of a season or a year or a decade or a century. 5 to 6 million years. It was also not the work of a single drop of water. It took a lot of water, a very long time. All we can do is shape the landscape mostly directly around us. We cannot seek to change our entire society. We cannot seek to change the forces of gravity that pull us. But we can stick together and we can shape what is most immediately around us. And society is, after all, a collection of individuals. So be water, my friends, flow and crash. Held by gravity, pulled by the moon, never complacent, always moving, always shaping that which is around us. May it be so. Amen. And blessed be.
Our closing hymn is hymn number 1007. in singing the journey. Please join me in the spirit as we sing, "There's a river flowing in my soul." There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul. And it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my heart. And it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing in my mind. And it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing. There's a river flowing. There's a river flowing in my soul.
And now go out into a world that makes no sense, but go knowing that it's not our job to make sense of the things that are happening around us. It is our job to exist within those contexts in a way that is flowing, compassionate to ourselves, but relentless in changing the landscape around us. May it be so. Amen.